Yeah.
Like 10, 11.
Yeah, Kanye on, bro.
God. All right, Shalom.
Shalom.
What's up, the brothers of Great Millstone, New Orleans, coming at you with another live camp. Before we get started, we're going to give all praises, glory, infinite honors unto
Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua Ba'Shem Kakadash.
love honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who taught us the truth and rule well, and peace, blessings, citations be to the hopeful elect, man. All right, and we're going to get straight into it, because there's a lot of controversial topics out there this week. All right, you got Jake talking about, all the nations, certain of the Gentiles can be saved. All right, but that ain't so, man. All right, we here to, first and foremost, did I give double honors?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And first and foremost, man, we come out week in, week out to prophesy the downfall of America, in which which we know according to the scriptures is Babylon the Great, a mystery of Babylon. All right, but you have certain individuals, who call themselves prophets, who call themselves men of the law, who's changing their doctrine, all right, in order to align with the so-called white man, who is our enemy, all right, and is known as Esau Edom according to the scriptures, man. All right, now we're gonna start off. Matter of fact, give me that second Ezra 6:30. To start off, all right, on how the Lord feel about these other nations, man. All right, hold on deck. Deuteronomy 7:6. Baba Bishop, you got that?
Yeah.
No.
I got it.
All right, give me that right quick.
This is Second Ezra 6 and verse 54, and it says, "And after these Adam also, whom thou hast made as Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all."
Right, of him, of Adam, what? We come all, man. All right, all of the nations, right? Because when you go through the lineage of Adam, all right, it goes all the way to Noah, all right, in which Noah started. He was the progenitor of Ham, Shem, and Japheth, all right, in which all of the nations come out from Noah, man, all right, because after Adam, all right, the whole earth was erased, and the Lord saved only who? Noah and his sons and their wives, man, all right, as well as the fowls of the heaven, all right, and the fish of the sea, man, and the walking and creeping beasts, you see. But it says after these what?
It says, "After these Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all."
Right, of him come we all, man. All right, so all the nations come, all right, it starts from Adam, all right, who was the first person given the breath of life, all right, which represents the laws, the statutes, and commandments, man. All right, who was Yahushua if you can't receive that in the reincarnation? Go ahead, brother.
"And the people also whom thou hast chosen."
Right, and the people who thou hast chosen, and who have thou chosen? All right, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. All right, these are the chosen seed of the Most High. All right, what's that one that said in the NLT, a chosen race? Brother, could get that from me, Papa Kashaf?
First T, the chosen generation.
That's it right there. Get it in the NLT too. Keep going.
Verse 55, and it says, "All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes."
Right, the world was made for our sakes, over whom the Lord is chosen. All right, like I said, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who are the Israelites according to the scriptures, man. All right, go ahead.
"As for the other people,"
right, so now he's talking. Let's see who else he's talking about, right? Because we all come from Adam, you got it. But there's others that have come descended from Adam, right? That have descended from Noah. You see? Go ahead.
"Which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel."
Right, so the Lord said he don't give a shit about you other nations, man. All right, he only cares about Israel. All right, the apple of his eye. That's the only nation that he's dealing with. All right, so in the Psalms, the 147 chapter. All right, you got that? Bring it out real quick.
This is Psalms 147 and verse 19. And he said, "He showed his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgment unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation. As for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye Yahweh."
Right, they haven't known the judgments, and he's never dealt with them, man. That's point blank and period. But bring that out by y'all real quick.
This is 1 Peter chapter 2 and 9 in KJV. It says, "But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light."
Right. It says you're a chosen generation, man. All right, you got it in the NLT?
And the NLT says, but you are not like that, for you are a chosen people. You are a royal priest, a holy nation, God's very own possession.
God's very own possession, man. Yahweh's very own possession. You see? And it's been like that ever since the time of Moses and forward, man. You know? But go ahead.
Okay, I got
something. Go ahead.
This the book of Leviticus, chapter 20 and 26, and it reads, it says, and ye shall be holy unto me, for I am the Lord, am holy, and have severed you from the other people, that ye should be mine. Showing that we completely, contrary to the other 17 nations that dwell upon the face of the earth, man. All right, the Lord has basically put a wedge in between us and them. All right, our ways are different from their ways, because our ways, the Lord ways, he likened them, he likened our ways unto his ways, man. All right, as far as being holy and separate. What you got, Doc?
Yeah, but now you got Jake talking about, oh, well, that's not actually what it means. All right, y'all, we got a new breakdown this week. The Gentiles can be saved. You see? But that's why we got to come week in, week out, all right, to prophesy what the true doctrine is, man, all right? And that ain't so, you see? Your brother got that Deuteronomy 7? You got it? Bring it out.
It's Deuteronomy.
Hold on, you want to say something?
No.
The brothers want to make any points? Okay, go ahead.
It's the book of Deuteronomy 7, chapter 7, verse 6, and it reads, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy power.
Right, and the word holy means set apart, man, all right? It means, what's the other word? Separate, you know? So the Lord said we are separate people, all right? We are set apart from what? The other nations, man, all right? If we had the sign, we'll show you there's 17 nations, all right, that the Lord is not dealing with. He's only dealing with one nation, man, all right? He's not dealing with the Edomites, so-called white people. He's not dealing with the Hamites, all right, you Africans, man, all right? He's not dealing with Moab. He's not dealing with Ammon, you see? He's only dealing with the nation of Israel, all right? And these are the people that's at the bottom of the barrel right now, you see? Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say this because what would be the purpose of the Edomites, all throughout history, trying to rewrite the doctrine, trying to pull a wool over? If the Lord was truly dealing with them, was dealing with everybody, it would be plain.
Right.
You see, but they went through iconoclasm, right? Different avenues of deception, to make themselves be grafted in.
Yeah.
And you other camps are eating that shit up, man. Mm-hmm. Whether it be out of ignorance or for filthy lucre's sake.
Yeah. Yeah, and you go into that word lucre, all right, it goes back into the word lucrative. Right, which means gain. So
That's
it's
right.
all for filthy gain, man. You see? You want to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, basically, they're doing what the scriptures say by, basically picking off the flesh of the Israelites, man. Mm-hmm. It talks about the flesh, the sinews, the skins, right, which goes into what? Our identity.
That's
and
right.
they having them lose the identity and fall back into what, man? Into madness, man.
Yeah.
Which is Christianity and Catholicism. What you got?
Finish that piece up.
God, it's the book of Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy power. The Lord thy power hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
Right, above all the people, not equal to, all right? Not that we all should live together, but no. The brother just read in 2 Ezra 6 that the world was made for our sakes. You see? We are the princes of the power, man, Yashala. You see? We are the kings and priests that's supposed to reign supreme across the planet Earth, all right? And have all the other nations in subjection, man. You see? Not to sit there and have dinner with you, all right? Not to sit there and share rows with you. Sit there and live in the same subdivisions with you, all right? Live in the same apartment complexes with you, all right? You're supposed to be living in fucking mud holes, man, And we supposed to be reigning over you, you see? But Jake want to save all the nations, man, all right? How you think the Lord feel about the shit you saying? Bring that out, brother, that Isaiah 40.
This is the book of Isaiah chapter 40. You start at 15.
Shit piss you off, man.
It says, behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket.
The who?
The nations.
The nations are as a drop of a bucket, man, right? Brothers say all the time, you carrying a bucket of water, right, and it's filled to the top, but you walking, so it's shit gonna spill, right? You don't give a fuck about the shit that's spilling. You see, that's how the Lord feel about you nations, man. All right, it ain't gonna be no, oh, you know, I'm gonna save them because, you know, oh, they gotta go in slavery. No, man, we gonna put them in chains, man. You see, the only people that's getting saved is the elect of the nation of Israel, man. All right, go ahead. Hey, and then the Lord said He gonna kill 2/3 of our own people here in America, man. So why would He save anybody else of the other nations, man? What sense does that make? Go ahead, brother.
This says, and are counted as the small dust of the balance.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, he taketh up the isles as a very little thing.
Yeah.
It
Read
says,
that part again where it said what?
I'm gonna read the whole thing
All
again.
right.
It says, verse 15, behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket, and are counted as the small dust of the balance.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, he taketh up the isles as a very little thing.
Yeah, man. That shit don't mean you nations don't have nothing to do with the Lord, man. All right, you a very little thing. All right, He don't even think about you nations, man. You know, you want to say something?
No, I'm finna say that.
Okay, you got just get them brothers, and then get you. You gonna get that Jeremiah 30. You got something? All right. Go ahead. What you got?
You got preachers?
Oh yeah. Finish it out.
Oh, my bad.
It says, and Lebanon,
I thought you had read that already.
and Lebanon is not sufficient to burn, nor the beast thereof sufficient for a burnt offering. It says, all the nations before him are as nothing. It says, all the nations before him are as nothing, and they are counted to him less than nothing, and vanity. Okay? So the Lord don't, like you've been saying, the Lord don't care about these other nations, man. He said count them as less than nothing.
Yep.
And vanity. Okay?
So that's a negative. We
Yeah.
can be zero, nothing is zero. But He said to count them less than nothing. So you fucking nations are negative to the Lord, man. You know? You want to say something?
Yeah, and it's the Lord is very, peculiar with separating,
Yeah.
these people away from us. Right? They're considered as heathen, they're considered as less. So if somebody's considered you less and you're considered as top notch, it has to be a vast difference, and it has to be known that we are different.
Right. Right.
Amazing difference. Yeah.
That's why our brothers always say the Lord is a separatist. He likes to put things in classifications and categories.
Right.
All right, Israel here, the nations are way under here. All right, even under them, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Which falls back into the order of things.
Exactly.
Our Lord is all about order.
God.
So having a top power and then having a ranking system, that's all about, and that's all through the scripture.
Yep.
You know how everything operates.
And it brings a righteous balance to everything.
Right.
God, brother. That's a beautiful point. Go ahead, bring your piece up.
This is the book of Amos, chapter 3, starting at verse 1. Hear this word that Yahweh has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquity.
All right. So, brother, can give me Deuteronomy the 28th chapter, man. All right, because we need to see what are these punishments that the Lord has punished us for. All right, or what did we do, okay, to get a punishment? All right, or identify who are the people that's under the punishment, right? You say that, oh, these people can be saved. Well, do they identify with the curses that the Lord said He will have His people under? All right, and His is a possessive pronoun. You got it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He got it. You got it. Pull that Amos 3. Let me read. You should read again. Start at 46.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 46. It says, and they shall be upon thee for
Hold on. Start at 48, but I want you to grab 15. Read 15, and then jump to 48.
This Deuteronomy 28 and 15, it says, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Right. So let's jump to 48 now to see what are some of the curses that we identify as. All right. Or how do we identify ourselves of being punished, all right, from the hand of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua? Go ahead.
Verse 48, it says, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee.
Right, brother, give me Psalms 83, right? Because Israel don't know that they have enemies, man. All right. It says, therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies. So let's find out who our enemies are. All right.
Got something. God, this Psalms 83 in verse 1, it says, keep not thou silence, O power, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O power. For lo, thy enemy making tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy peoples and consulted against the hidden ones.
So they said they have taken crafty counsel against our people. Read that, what you just read. Therefore, what?
This Deuteronomy 28 and 48 again, it says, therefore thou shalt serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst, in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he hath destroyed thee.
Right, which represents us being put into slavery, man. All right. When you have to serve your enemy for the one of all things, all right, and he has put a yoke, all right, which is a heavy burden upon you until what? You've totally been destroyed, right? Well, this was a crafty counsel, all right, starting with who? Keep going, brother.
And it says in verse 4, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
Right, and this is the counsel that they took, all right, all in one together. You see? All to do what? Cut us off from being a nation, which is parallel with what? Us being destroyed, man. You see? And we are totally destroyed as a people. All right? Go ahead.
For they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee.
Right.
Who? The tabernacle of Edom and the Ishmaelites of the Moab and the Hagarenes.
Yeah, man. And these are the chief, all right, other tribes. Not the tribes, but the nations who have consulted against us, man. All right, the tabernacles of Edom. All right, the so-called white man who sits at the top of the food chain. All right, and who is the very next name?
It says Gabal.
No, the Ishmaelites.
The Ishmaelites.
All right, and what you see them with? They sit right next to Esau, Edom, man. Right? They made a deal with them. All right, and those who don't know, all right, the Ishmaelites is the so-called Arabs. All right, they played a part, all right, in putting us on the ships, man. All right, in catching us when we were scattered throughout the western parts of Africa. You see, they were known as slavers or slave catchers. You see, and as a part of the deal, they have what? The gas stations. You see, they control the oil, the gas supply here in the U.S., man. All right, that's why you see them at all your local corner stores. All right, all of your clothing stores, all you jigs go to and try to shop from, right? Where you buy your shoes from. You see, because that's a piece of the pie that they got from Esau, Edom. All right, and all was a part of putting us and cutting us off from being a nation, man. You see? Go ahead, brother. What's the next name?
It says of Moab.
Right, and the Moab is so-called Chinese, man. Right, in which they have a piece in what? Who's always in the nail shops? Right? Who's always in the massage parlors and shit? Getting massages because what? They back and shit hurt. You know, they feet hurt because we just wore out from working. You see? It's Jake, man. All right, the so-called black woman. All right, the Native American woman. Right, the Latino woman. All right, they always gotta have their pretty, you know, the hands and feet done, man. You know. And these are all the pieces of the pie that these nations got. All right, just from cutting us off from being a nation, man. You see. And now you teaching that these people could be saved? Are you out of your mind, man? You know? Go ahead.
I want to say too, yeah, like basically, you're going to salvation, and what that word, the meaning, it means deliverance from my enemies.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and then another day too, like, what the heathens got to be saved from? They're not catching no hell, like Scripture say, they not as trouble as other men.
That's right.
You know? So what's the point? Yeah, what's the point of them being saved for? You You know, we need saving. We need deliverance. You know what I'm saying? Because we catching hell, man. Go ahead.
And that's why this brother's still holding that Deuteronomy 28.
Mm-hmm.
You see, because we're the ones that are destroyed. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I see it's balling on you.
Yeah, just because you said Moab of all people, they're the wash pot.
They're a wash pot, yeah.
Psalm 60 and 8. Like I was just on. Damn it. I jumped off.
Y'all hold it right there.
Psalm 68 real quick, just to explain
Of
that.
course.
Moab is my wash pot.
Oh.
Moab is my wash pot. Come on, man. Over Edom when I cast out my shoe, Philistia triumphed out because of me. But the point is, Moab is my wash pot. So we talking about people who still do their job to this fucking day. You know, they still scrubbing toes, scrubbing feet,
Yeah.
you know, in the thing. But come on, man. It's like, they the lowest of the low.
Yeah.
Like, you want them to be saved with us?
Like
Come on,
crazy.
man.
Crazy, bro. Let's finish this out. That was it for that. Yeah, verse Deuteronomy 28 and 49. It says, "The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand." Right, because we spoke Hebrew. All right, which is why when you watch them documentary, all right, or that series called Roots, you know, they beat the Kunta out of Kente, man. You know, what was his name? What's your name, boy? Toby. You know, and this nation is talking about Esau Edom. You see, they beat the Kunta out of him, man. And that's what they did to us as a people. Wasn't just him. That was an example for you Jakes to know and understand what they did to us as a people, all right? Especially you so-called Negroes, man. You know? That was it. I want you to jump to 64. Barbara Shah. Yes. Deuteronomy 28 and 64, it says, "And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone." Right, which represents these false doctrines, right? These different religions, all right? But it said that we will be scattered throughout the earth, right? Now, what you have to understand that when somebody says a Gentile can be saved, this is sometimes they're speaking in the context as an Israelite fauna, all right? And we at Great Millstone, all right, we preach that Israelite foreigners can be saved, all right? Because you have actual Israelites that are mingled amongst these other nations whose fathers go back into the bloodline of an Israelite, all right? But case in point, I was watching a brother, GMS Ancient Wine 144, doing a lesson on one of the rappers me and a brother like to listen to, named Belly Gang Cushington, all right? Now, a brother could pull a picture up for me real quick, you know, because he would be perceived as a so-called white man.
Oh, that's what that was?
He sounded black, huh?
Yeah.
You ain't even know. You ain't know.
Yeah, I thought
No.
all of it
Look
just
at that
listening
part.
to it.
Yeah.
Show him. Yeah.
Oh, no, I know that boy. I like it.
Show the camera. You know? And this will be perceived as a so-called white man. Why? Because he has very fair skin. Go.
So he got a particular song. I don't know if you was listening.
5 p.m. in Atlanta?
Nah, introduced me.
Mm-hmm.
When he came in, they had a woman asking, like, I don't know what you is. You seem a little mixed. You look white, but you act black, really.
Yeah.
You know, so the world can see what we see. You know, you got Becky in the different hoods and shit like that. You know, she don't act like, you know, a Karen. She act more or less like a N-dub. You know, that's because more than likely she go back to an Israelite, man.
Yep.
And I want to say this too, because with that diaspora, us being dispersed throughout the four corners of the earth, even ourselves, us here in America, we thought we was another nation. You know, we thought we was fucking Hamites, right? Africans, African Americans, you know, things of that nature. You know, but scriptures tell you, the Lord said, go out to the lost sheep of the nation of Israel. And that's all the Gentiles You got that?
Yeah, not that one, but I got one to back you up.
That's all the Lord was saying, bro. That's what that Gentiles is going for, going into. Of course, you have actual Gentiles, but these people who are going to be saved, these Gentiles who are going to be saved, are actually Israelites, man, coming in all shapes, forms, and colors, man.
That's right. Right, and it's basically just a play on words. That's all they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Because when you go through the scriptures, it'll tell you, it'll say Judah and Jerusalem, or it'll say Judah and Ephraim, or it'll say Judah and Israel. You know, it does that over and over again. So when you come down to a context that's talking about salvation, and it says Israel and the Gentiles, it's just speaking about Israel in general. That's just, it is what it is, you know. And they know that, but you know, they ain't there for what we was talking about yesterday, filthy lucre sake, man. Money, man, profitable gain.
If I could see, because even as simple as knowing that the Lord not dealing with the other nations, that'll tell you that anything he's talking about towards salvation of Israel. Because he clearly saying he's not dealing with the other nations. So how is he talking about the other nations when he's talking about that? We know that the Lord don't contradict himself, right?
Right.
Okay, then, so he got to be talking right.
And that's the importance of us doing this work. Brothers, you know, it's not the time to get tired. We Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, tell you, make it plain upon tables. We are here to make these sorts of things plain upon tables.
Yeah.
We defending the gospel. You see? Because these people are coming against the gospel. And they need the Lord has put us on the front lines to defend it.
That's right, man.
You know?
That's right.
I know you had a precept, but I got some shit too.
Let this brother get this, because that brother just showed y'all a picture, all right, of what would be perceived as a so-called Asian, right? You got the picture? You still got it? Show it up there again, because you were showing it in
pull up his family.
His family?
Yeah.
Yeah, pull up. Yeah, what's his name? Han Lee. Whatever his name is, put it in there, because it's gonna come up. Yeah, his father is actually a so-called black man. All right, and so bring that precept out for me.
This is Jeremiah 12 and verse 9. It says, "Mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her." It says, "Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field, come to devour."
Right. The point was that the Lord said his heritage. All right, and what's his heritage? Is the nation of Israel. All right. He said unto him is as a speckled bird. All right. In which our people are different colors, man. Right. We're not talking about pink, green, and blue. All right. We're talking about different hues of brown. Okay. Which is why that brother showed you a picture of the rapper. Right. He looked like a so-called white man. All right. Real fair skin. All right. And he has a red hair. Right. He don't look like, the typical Jake. You see? You got it?
Yeah, I got it. I can't find his family.
Let me see. We'll find it, Kabal, if you can.
All right.
But you still have certain Israelites that are going to look like the other nations. All right. And because that's why I had that brother read that Deuteronomy 28:64, because yes, we will be scattered across the earth. All right. And it said that this word has to go out where? To the four winds, man. Yeah. The four corners, man. You see, and that's for a reason, so that what? Those who will be appointed salvation can hear the word, right? They believe, okay? And they're gonna wait for Yahushua to come, man. You see? That was it. Real quick. Yeah, that was it. I got it.
This
you got something, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This just to back up what you were saying, I got one more too. This Hosea chapter 7 and 8.
Hold on, real quick.
Go ahead.
Show that picture, Kabal. Right, you see, because you can see, look at his pops. Come on, man. Clearly a G. All right, but you can see why the Lord has the scattering of the Lord's chosen seed, man. You see, but go ahead, Art.
This Hosea chapter 7 and verse 8. It says, Ephraim, he had mixed himself among the people.
Yes.
Ephraim is a cake not turned. You see, and ultimately, when you mix yourself amongst these other nations, right? These are lighter skin complexions and things of that nature. Over the course of time, that lineage starts to become more lighter and lighter and lighter. And while and simultaneously, they're picking up more of those customs that are native to that land.
That's right.
All right. You got, man, a lot of Vietnamese people, are actually Jakes. You know, but like the brother said, across the whole four corners of the earth, man, you got people, you got Israelites that look like so-called Indians, right, with the red dot, so-called Moabites, right, Edomites, right? They look like these different nations, okay, but they're I'm trying to their genetics go back to Israel, man.
Yeah.
You know, but I had one more for the back you up too, bro. This the book of Ezra, chapter 4:1, and it reads, it says, now when the adversaries, which this brother went into the adversaries, okay, of Israel, back in that not Deuteronomy, Psalms 83, it says, now when the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin heard that the children of the captivity builded the temple unto the Lord of Israel, then they came to Zerubbabel and to the chief of the fathers and said unto them, let us build with you, for we seek your power as ye do, and we do sacrifice unto him since the days of Ishar-Hadon, king of Assur, which brought us up hither. But Zerubbabel and Jeshua and the rest of the chief of the fathers of Israel said unto them, ye have nothing to do with us to build an house unto our power, but we ourselves together will build unto the Lord Yahweh of Israel, and King Cyrus, the king of Persia, had commanded us. All right, so this was an example in history, all right, where these heathens tried again. All right, they once before tried to get a piece, all right, of building with us, man.
That's crazy, bro.
And what are we into right now? We're built. This temple is built with what? All right, men.
Yeah,
okay,
spiritual.
this is a spiritual temple. All right, they tried to do it with the physical temple, you know, but the answer is still the same. No, it was no last time. It was no before that, and it's no again, man. They have nothing to do with us. Good.
Right, because constantly in history, like you were saying, history repeats itself, right?
Right.
So in history, the heathens have always wanted to worship our power.
That's right.
That's something they always wanted to do because we had the power. You know what I'm saying? So in like manner, we're coming in the same things, you know, now in today's time, and it's after the same manners. But like you said, the answer is still the same, man. The answer is hell no back then. It's the same then. The Lord don't change, right? You know, the scriptures tell you that. You know, therefore you sons of Jacob is not consumed. And therefore it says you sons of Jacob. It don't say the sons of everyone. Right. It says the sons of Jacob, which goes back to the Israelites.
Yeah. Yeah, but if I could say, that's why, you know, we always see these other nations and they, you know, you got Jake get on the rug, man. Jake wash their hands. Right. Make sure they clean before they not Jake, but you know, these other nations, right? And I'm talking about the Arabs, for example. I'm using them as an example, right? They go wash their hands, they lay out the little mat, and they go hamdallah, you know, they do their shit because they think that they serving a true power, man. You see, and they carry themselves as such when you deal with these upper echelon Arabs and you know these different Saudis and different people like that, you know. Because they think that they actually are the people, right? But here it is, we telling Jake they the people, and Jake like, yeah, all right, that's cool, but I'm still gonna go do my thing, right? You know.
And what the scripture says, it says the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Yeah.
Not the God of Abraham, Isaac, Ishmael, or Abraham, Isaac, Moab. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's point plain. What they don't get.
Right. The scriptures say, say not I have Abraham as my father. So the Lord said I could make these stones out of the children of Abraham. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know, so that goes back into that lineage line. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, man.
Yeah.
And by you saying that excluded all these other nations. All right, Abraham went to what? To Isaac, okay? And what you had come from Isaac, who you had come from? Jacob and Esau, man. Yep. He said Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He didn't say / Esau with him. No, he made it very specific. All right, there's no blend in that. You know what? When the brother he made a point earlier, you know, kind of going into the Lord is a separatist. All right, when you're a separatist, you don't have a middle ground. There's no gray area. All right, the Lord isn't about having a gray area. You know, he makes everything very specific, man. Yeah. Right. So it won't be confusion. You know, but hey. Esau, he is the confusion, right? Being that spiritual counterpart of Satan, man. You know, I mean physical counterpart of Satan. Salaki.
Start at 13.
You got it.
Yeah, second
This is second Esdras 3 and verse 13, and it says, now when it says, now when they had lived so wickedly before thee, it says, thou didst choose thee a man from among them.
Right, and this what I want to say to back these brothers up on the points they was making. It's all about who the Lord choose.
Yep.
All right, because here it is. You had Esau. He was the firstborn, but the Lord ain't choose Esau. You see? Go ahead, brother.
And it says, Salakia. Let's see. All right, and it says, unto them, it says, whose name was Abraham, him thou lovest, and unto him only thou showest thy will, and madest an everlasting covenant with him, promising him that thou wouldest never forsake his seed. And unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac also thou gavest Jacob and Esau.
Right. So it's a point here that is being made in the book of Esdras, man. All right. He's explaining who was given the everlasting covenant, who was given the promises, right? So why did he say at this point in time that thou gavest Jacob and Esau? You see? Because people try to fit that in there. Oh, right. Esau, you know, he was Jacob's brother. The Lord ain't gonna bless him. He blessed Esau, in which he did bless Esau, right? But Esau not the chosen one. Go ahead, brother, because it's finna say it. Go ahead.
And it says, thou didst choose unto them and put by Esau, and so Jacob became a great multitude.
Just read it again.
It says, as for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee.
As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee. So that's who was given the continuance of the covenant. All right, from Abraham to Isaac and to Jacob. And then what happened to Esau?
And put by Esau.
Right.
As
keep going.
As so Jacob became a great multitude.
Yeah. So the shit was put by Esau, man. Meaning he wasn't given it, right? Neither do he have any dealings, all right, any promises that's going to be included with Jacob, all right? It was put by him, man. You know? Good.
Like I said, because like you said, he was blessed, but he got his blessing now.
Yeah.
Okay, which is why when that second round comes, that's gonna be for the Israelites. You got it.
Yeah, that's why the Lord gave everybody a fair shake, man. Right? All these nations had their turn in having Jake in oppression. All these nations had their turn in ruling. You see? But let's get those two before we go all the way off and not ever get to them.
I'm gonna say this real quick, because the reason why he put him by, because Jacob sit there and say, well, the law was unfair. Because you gotta explain that too.
Yeah,
you know, I got the precept in Hebrews to back that up. But nevertheless, Esau despised his blessing.
Yeah.
You see, he sold his blessing. Yeah. So that's why he was put by. Because according to our customs, your firstborn is supposed to get the greatest blessing.
Yeah.
All right. And Esau was the firstborn.
Right.
But he despised his blessing and sold it to Jacob. Now the Lord had it happen dramatically because the Lord he deal like that, man. He a Jake.
Right.
He putting flavor. Go ahead.
But also another thing you gotta understand too, because in the reincarnation, who was Esau and who was Jacob?
Cain and Abel.
Cain and Abel. Come on. All right. And Cain slew his brother, man. You see? So it's the same two spirits coming back, which is why it was so much enmity and fighting in the womb, man. You see? So it was never destined for Cain to get the blessing, all right, of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, man. You see? To be the chosen seed. You think the Lord gonna do that? And then when you think about his mindset as Cain, look what his sacrifice
His sacrifice was unacceptable.
It wasn't acceptable, man. You see? Same thing with Esau. His mindset was, I don't need the birthright. Just feed me right now.
I'm hungry.
You know, having that what's that the one the brother put in the chat the other day, the Hebrews 12, man. Yeah. That Esau syndrome.
I got the Hebrews 12.
That want it now. You know? We're gonna come back to that though. Real hold what you got, because I need to get these off because they explain that Israelite foreigner thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say something too. Like we go to that word put by, made to set aside for something for a certain use. And basically, the scriptures say, "Hey, the wicked are reserved from judgment." Yeah. So basically, like the Lord, like, "Hey, I'm gonna touch you." So yeah.
The Lord set him aside to be the weapon. Bro.
Yeah, the weapon.
That's it.
Uh-huh.
A tool of correction for the Israelites. You got it, huh?
Yeah, he buried not the sword in vain. But go ahead,
All right. Let me start at 1.
Where you at?
Ezra 9.
Yeah.
Done. This is the book of Ezra, chapter 9 and verse 1. Now, when these things were done, the princes came to me, saying, the people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the people of the land,
All right. Keep going.
doing according to their abominations, even of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Egyptians, and the Amorites. For they have taken their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed may mingle themselves with the people of those lands. Yea, the hand of the princes and rulers have been chief in these trespasses.
Yeah. And this is when you had Jake living amongst what is it called, all these different nations in the 4th chapter. All right. And it tells you what they were doing. All right. Mixing and mingling the seed. All right. Now you got the Nehemiah, because we're going to come back to that. There's a little more.
This is the book of Nehemiah, chapter 13. I'm going to start at 23. It says, in those days also saw I Jews that had married wives of Ashdod, of Ammon, and of Moab.
Right, and these are different nations, man. All right, Ashdod is dealing with, the Amalekites. All right, who are Edomites, man. All right, you have who's it? Ammon, Moab.
Oh yeah.
You see, these nations were meant to be concubines. All right, that's nothing more, nothing less. All right, it's a concubine, right? Your wife is only supposed to be an Israelite woman. You see, why do you think the Lord out of one nation created 12 tribes, man? You see, because there is. Listen, brother, we men. When you deal with the tribes, brother, it's all different flavors. Me personally, I don't need to deal with the other nations at all. You can deal with the so-called Dominican, right? The Mexican woman, right? Which Issachar, Simeon, man. I can't get enough of the bumper clots, hey.
Man, say, bro.
Huh?
Jake love those snow bunnies, man.
Jake, but when you deal with the other with the other nations, right? Jake want to take and marry them, right? And that's why I brought this out, to back up the point, because when you do this from generation to generation, what starts to happen? Your children come out lighter, all right? They don't have that so-called dark complexion anymore, right? And they actually start to look like the other nations, man, right? And this is a part of being scattered across the earth, but this was happening in the ancient times, right? So how much more today? You see, that's why I tell you in Hosea 1 that Israel is as the sand of the sea, man. Who cannot be measured nor numbered. All right, you want to make a point out?
To back you up, because the Lord made the Israelite man to like variety.
Yeah,
the Lord likes variety.
Exactly.
So, but Jake back in the ancient, he took it too far. Married concubines, but it's all right to like variety.
Right.
Brothers like snow bunnies, you know what I'm saying? Other concubines, but it meant, like the brother said, they're concubines.
Yeah.
You got it out.
Because you start to lose your heritage, man.
That's the point.
You start to serve other gods, and we got the perfect example, which was who? King Solomon. I was just gonna say that, man. Hey, King Solomon, he had the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? The riches. Yeah, go ahead. I'm getting ahead of myself. Go ahead, bro.
I'm at 24.
Y'all got it, bro.
Oh, let's gonna wrap it all up, brother. This verse 24, Nehemiah 13 and 24, and it says, and their children speak half in the speech of Ashdod, and could not speak in the Jews' language, but according to the language of each people. Verse 24.
Read again.
It says, verse 24 again, it says, and their children spake half in the speech of Ashdod, and could not speak in Jews' language, but according to the language of each people. Okay, because that's what was happening when we was mixing and mingling with the other nations, man. We started to not even be able to speak our natural natural tongue. What was what? The Hebrew. Okay.
Yeah, start following the ways of the heathen, man.
Yeah.
Read it again.
Nehemiah 13 and 24 again. It says, and their children spake half in the speech of Ashdod, and could not speak in the Jews' language.
Right, which this is a heavy matter, man. Right, and because the Hebrew, all right, is the strongest, the most potent language on the planet Earth. All right, that's how we stay attached to our power. Right, as it says in the prologue of Sirach 1, the things other than Hebrew, all right, have not the same power to them, man. You know, when they are translated into another tongue, you see. So then you start to do what? Worship their gods, follow their ways, offer their sacrifices, all right, their burnt offerings. That's how you start to go off, okay? And we have the staple in the scriptures of King Solomon, man. You see? Go ahead, finish it out.
Verse 25.
Okay. You want to get that? You want to finish that? Then we want to get that king.
It says, and
I
contended with them and cursed them and smote certain of them.
Hold on. He said he what?
I contended with them.
What does it mean when a prophet say he contended with somebody? Yeah, he put hands on them, man. Because, and we're going to get it in Esdras. What his reaction was to Jake mingling the seed, all right? Mixing and marrying these other nations, man. You see? So if we are not supposed to mingle, and we can mingle, right? You can pop them, right? They're a concubine. You don't marry them. They're not supposed to have our children, man. You see? Because that causes us to go off, right? And if he's doing that as us, you know, because we still carry the seed as a man, all right? But if he's doing that to not mingle our seeds with the other nations, then why would he save the other nations anyway? You see? When it's just a small thing, it's just popping them and dealing with them. You see? Want to say something?
Yeah, just real quick, because marriage is a sacred custom within the nation of Israel. When you marry with somebody, it's the joining of two households, right? You know what I'm saying? My resources are your resources are my resources. Okay? Well, when you do that with the other nations, you basically inherit all the things, all the practices, all the customs, all the beliefs, the morals, the traditions, the values. You don't want to do that, man. That's going to, like what they're saying, basically make you fall from your power, you know, and make you weak, so to speak, in the spirit. Yeah, what you got more?
It says, but that also shows you how serious this is, man. It tells you that he smoked some of them because of this. Verse 25 again, it says, and I contended with them and cursed them and smote certain of them and plucked off their hair.
Right. So he beat their ass, man. All right. Smote them, you know. For what? For mingling and marrying and you know, dealing with these other nations, man. You see? Causing our people to forget their heritage, causing our people to forget their true language. You see? Want to say something?
Yeah, that's what I got a scripture for. That's why the Lord says in Deuteronomy 7, verse 3. Neither shalt thou make marriage with them, thy daughters, thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. That's plain. That's why the Lord said that, man.
Yeah, man.
That's not supposed to, man, mingle with other nations because they will forget our heritage, man.
Exactly.
So we'll start serving, the heathen customs, man. Which, the example as the brother brought out is King Solomon.
Yep, we got that.
Yeah,
brother.
go ahead.
We got that on deck. Read this word marriage for me, right? Because contrary to popular belief, all right, people think a marriage is when you go, right, you go to the altar and dearly beloved. You know what I'm saying? That's not what well, according to the scriptures, marriage is totally different. Bring it out.
This is marriage in the Zondervan dictionary. It says marriage is an intimate personal union to which a man and a woman consent, consummate and continuously nourished by sexual intercourse.
By sexual intercourse, man. All right. So you meet a woman, all right, and you go and pop her, right? In which when you do that, you're cutting into her, all right. You break the hymen or whatever, which you know ain't no more hymens out there. I can, you know, it's over with. But you know, this is what marriage is. All right, that is consuming of popping, right? Which is why when Mary, all right, was found with child, all right, because Joseph popped her. You see, he had to put her away because it's a whole process to it. The token of virginity, you know, where they throw the sheets with the blood out the window to prove that she was a virgin. That wouldn't have been so she would have had to get put to death, man. Carrying your house shot, you see? Go ahead.
I want to say this because you know when I read that that Leviticus, you see that I think it was Leviticus 20, 21. But nevertheless, it's showing you, you know, how serious the law, statutes, and commandments is, and how, you know, how serious us being separate from these other nations is, man. All right, hey, these things are punishable by death. We talking about now. Look at our people. You know, they gone.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because look at the level we at now. Off of mingling with the nations, dealing with the nations, we at this low point that the Lord got to come back and save us. Come. This Nehemiah 13:25. It says, I contended with them and cursed them and smote certain of them and plucked off their hairs and made them swear by the Most High, saying, ye shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons, or for yourselves. Verse 26, it says, did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things? Question mark. Ye among many nations were, yet among many nations was there no king like him, who was beloved of his power, and the most high made him king over all Israel. Nevertheless, even him did outlandish women cause to sin.
Right, and even King Solomon, man, who the Lord, which we know as Yahushua, the reincarnation, again, all right. But you know, he went off dealing with these other nations, man. All right. But give me that. Hold on. Give me that. Finish that out. So like it is.
This second Ezra is 9 in verse 3.
No, that's just Ezra.
Ezra is 9 verse 3. Salaki. And when I heard these things, I rent my garment and my mantle and plucked off the hairs of my head and out of my beard and sat down astonished.
Yeah. So this is Ezra. All right. What's Ezra in the Bible is Esdras. All right. That's in the Apocrypha, man. All right. It's the same person. You see. So he rent. Jake start pulling his hair out. You know, pulling the hell of the beard is crazy.
Crazy.
You know, tearing his clothes, right? Destroying his mantle. You see, when he heard what the atrocities that was going on with us mixing and mingling the seed, man.
But
you
look,
see,
he was willing to go through that amount of pain.
Yeah.
Like to pull your hair out, bro.
Yeah.
That's immense pain,
bro.
But that's how crazy that is, though.
Bro,
it's that crazy for him to pull.
Tears are coming from your eyes.
Yes. That was our forefathers was built different, bro.
Yes.
The strength to just pull your beard hair out, bro.
But see,
man,
the significance of plucking your hairs out, it shows that you're in a state of mourning. When
Ezekiel,
not Ezekiel too, but I'm trying to remember who went up the mountain.
David.
Nah. When he called for the she-bears to kill the children.
Talking about Elisha.
Elisha plucked out all his hairs, and it was telling him what? Go up, thou bald head. Go up, because he was lamenting for Elijah. You see, so when you see in the scripture somebody plucking out their hairs, that's not just a random act. It's showing you that they're in mourning. It's a visual representation of that.
Yeah, and I just want to add on to you, which goes to show that they knew what happened. They saw what happened. They said, go up too. Why don't you go up there with them? You know what I'm saying? But instead, you down here. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, that was a good point, because you just sparked in my head. That's also part of the customs. If we take over another nation's land, concubine take a woman, she's supposed to shave her head to lament.
And a pair of nails too.
Yeah.
Bring out that concubine.
Bring it out, brother.
This the word concubine in the online etymology, and it reads, it says a woman so like a woman who cohabits with a man without being married to him. You see, when you go down, it says also recognized by law, a wife of inferior condition, a secondary wife. It says one who lives unmarried with a married man or woman.
Oh, but that's adultery, right?
See, but they don't understand the scriptures, man.
Yeah. An Israelite man is supposed to have more than one woman, man. All right. That's why you see these you see the word polygamy out there. All right, because they're understanding that the woman is understanding that they can't just do this by themselves, man. All right, it was never intended for it to be that way anyway, you know. But the Israelite man is supposed to have more than one wife. All right, when I say a wife, talking about an Israelite woman, okay, he can have as what Solomon had, what 1,000 wives, man. You see, and it was nothing.
700 and 300
concubines, right? It was 1,000 in total.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking about.
Let me bring this last little part out. It says the word itself from concumbere, to lie with, to lie together, to cohabit. You see, so what you mean? What it mean to lie down? I didn't mean to, to have sex, man. Yeah. But it's telling you that this is an unmarried woman.
Right. And the B, that means she don't have a man.
That's right, man.
A man has a woman, okay, but a woman can only have one man. A man can have multiple women.
That's right.
But go ahead and make your point.
Because even if you, because this is a very simple thing to
grasp. Yeah.
Because it's obviously way more women than men.
Exactly.
So how would it even be possible for one woman per man? That's not even sensible, man.
Can I add one thing to you, brother? And the other thing you have to add to it, women can only have one birth, a year.
I was thinking that, man.
So if you have one birth a year, you may have twins, you may have triplets or whatever. But if you're talking about Solomon that had that 1,000 overall of the women that he's dealing with, that's 1,000 plus children that could be born in that year. So that leads to being fruitful and multiplying, rather than one woman and one man. That's again, it goes back and lessen the numbers.
A man got a whole nation in his loins, man.
Yes.
He got millions and millions of sperma in his loins. But I just wanted to bring that out. Why would the Lord make that? Why would he
produce?
Yeah, to conquer. Yeah. You see, that's what it means to that's what we all about, man. All right, we're conquerors. Go ahead, Al.
You want to say something?
No. I was gonna say just real quick, because contrary to popular belief, what did they do in the world, man? They made basically life about the woman, right? You know what I'm saying? When a man is the one who really gives the life.
That's right.
Okay, and a woman is really they're not made to lay down every single day, man. You know what I'm saying? They be on a period, like you say, you be pregnant, you can't even have intercourse or sex, during those time periods. So we know what the being fruitful and multiplying applies to. It applies to the man, man.
That's why a man can have sex multiple times a day. That's right. Even though that's you're not supposed to do that. That's unclean. If you try to have sex with different women every day, but that's to each his own. Go ahead. You want to do that shit, man. We're not promoting it though.
This is Ezra 9:4. Then were assembled unto me everyone that trembled at the word of the power of Israel, because of the transgression of those that had been carried away.
Right, and so this was a transgression, man. All right, as a brother brought it out, Deuteronomy 7:3. You see, and what you go into the word Deuteronomy it just basically means a second reiteration of the law. The word duet means two, or the second. All right, so it's a second reiteration of what we should and shouldn't do. You see, just because it ain't in Leviticus, it's not the law. No, the law is all over the scriptures, man.
That was
pretty much it right there.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say too. You going to that word precept? It means commandment, and that reminds you, man. You gotta do.
I want to get this first. This is 1 Corinthians 12:1, and it says, "Now concerning the spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols, even as you were led." Pretty much going into us being mingled with these heathens and taking on their own customs and stuff like that. Messing up the heritage on the way down. This is the reason why we became these so-called Gentiles. But we could get that. Let me get that 1 Kings 11. This is 1 Kings 11:1, and it says, "But unto King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughters of Pharaoh, women of Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, Hittites, and of the nations which concern Yahweh, said unto the children of Israel, ye should not go in unto them, neither shall they come in unto you. For you surely they will turn your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love, and he has 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and the wise turned away his heart.
Yeah, and that's what happens, man. Right? They say he had Edomites, right? He had who else? Sidonians. That's all the nations, man.
Yeah.
He had women from all the nations, man. Variety.
They tell you his fame went through all the land.
Yeah.
What Bathsheba did when she came to that bitch? She passed out.
Yeah.
You know, so they was coming to see him, bang, gifts. Queen of Sheba. Yeah, Salakia, not Bathsheba, Queen of Sheba. You know, she came, bearing gifts, and you know, and that's how these other nations come, you know, yeah. But you got it, huh?
That was.
I want to say too, because you always got some bozo who would say, well, that child is a heathen because we mess with concubine woman. No, that's an Israelite man, and he lay with a heathen woman. That child still could be Israelite because the seed of the father. Pursuing the Numbers 1:18.
I was holding that.
I was holding it.
Go ahead.
It's the book of Numbers, chapter 1, verse 18. It reads, and they assemble all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declare their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by the polls.
Right, which is why when you read Romans 1 and 3, it tell you that Yahushua was made of the seed of David.
Yep.
All right? Because that word seed is sperma. All right? That's what determines, all right, what you put in a woman, that's what determines what is birded out, man. All right? It's your sperm is your seed, man. Right? This is why most of the children get their good looks from their parents, man. You know? But I had to throw that in there. No, that's real shit though. It's a real study. You know, scientists say 100% of the children get their looks from their fathers. You know, even though you have, you know, I look like my mother. You know, but I still have all of you know the seed of my father, man. You know. Go ahead.
But that's basic biology because the predominant, you know, gene or DNA, you know, it's gonna go after that. It's not gonna go after the weaker one. Like with the eye color, if you have predominantly black eye and then you have like a light color eye, the black color is gonna take over because it's predominant.
One more thing too, the Most High made that color is always about the seed of father. That's why the Lord says always the house of David, the house of Jacob. Never a woman name. It's always about the man, the father, man.
That's a good point.
Yeah, majority of the Bible speaks about men.
Yeah, house of David, house of Jacob, house such and such. It's all about the men.
Yeah, and this is what you call a kingdom, or a kingdom. All right, a dominion of kings, man.
Yeah.
All right, the scripture's not written. It's not. They don't have no queendoms in the scriptures, man. All right, or no princessdoms. Yeah, all right, it's not a domain of princesses. All right, what's the word queen? It just means a whore. All right. And that's who we're in now. All right, we're in a goddamn queendom. You know, go ahead, brother.
And just to back you up, remember, Jacob had a daughter.
Yeah.
Didn't even matter.
Yeah.
Let that ring a bell.
Oh, it didn't matter, but you know.
I'm just saying.
For the sake of this,
real quick, out of context, right quick. I said it didn't matter because it was some vital things that happened. You know, who was that? Diana? Was it Diana?
I believe
Dina was the same, you know, tomato. But it was some shit that went down behind Dina, man. You know?
Wow.
Yeah, first daughter of Israel, you know? It's a staple in the scriptures. You should read it. But go ahead, brother.
I just wanted to add on what the brother was talking about when you mix and mingle the seeds. You know, most of the other nations, and especially chiefly Esau, Edom, they have recessive gene traits. So when you mix and mingle your seed amongst them, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, we have the predominant gene trait. So some of our people come out looking more like us rather than them. And another thing is, you know, we get a lot of this mother lineage stuff from basically the small hatters, man. They the ones who are carried on with the idea and concept that it's all about the mother and her lineage, man, which is not true according to the scriptures. All right.
but what was that a part of? Them taking away our heritage, man. Taking a man out the house, okay, and lifting the woman up.
Jake gonna fight, you know, for their fucking life to make sure that you involve the woman. You know, you can't constantly tell Jake that, all right, the woman, she plays a part, you know, she plays a part to birth the child, you know, and so on and so forth, nourish the child, feed the child, and so on and so forth. But if you tell her that, if you tell Jake that, all right, the man is really what matters out of the thing, they're gonna flip out and, you know, toss a fit and debate with you. Like, it's common sense.
Talking about my mama, tell my mama don't matter.
Come on, bro.
Nigga, my mama raised me, nigga.
Man, she don't matter.
Yeah,
She played a crucial part in it,
yeah.
you know, but another person can fill that role,
Yeah.
you know, and my seed can still come
Can
out.
still come out. Hey, look, we still all gonna be here, and we wouldn't if we didn't have the same mother, the same man to be here. We might look a little different,
Right.
but that same spirit, that same seed, that your father put in a woman, it could have been put in another woman, man,
Right.
and you will still be here.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's why cause it's like husbandry.
Yeah.
You could plant an apple seed in some soil in Africa somewhere.
Yeah.
You could plant one on the whole other side of the earth, but it's
Yeah.
still an apple seed.
That's right, brother. That's right.
Just an incubator.
That's it.
I want to say this too, because they, you know, this pretty much a disclaimer, because a lot of times, you know, they get sour when we get on this particular topic. What you got to understand is, it has to be this way in order to, for truth's sake. You see, Jake loved their women too, though. You know, so this is you know, just something real quick. This 1 Corinthians 11:3. It says, "But I would have you know that the head of every man is Hamashiach." No, Slakia. Where I'm at? No, I'm not looking for that one. Oh, right here, verse 7. Slakia. 1 Corinthians 11:7. It says, "For the man indeed ought not to cover his head, for as much as he is the image of the glory of Yahweh, but the woman is the glory of the man." You see, so I want to bring that out so they can understand, because you do have a few sincere Aquat out there who watch for edification purposes, right, and not lumber shopping. Okay, but you know, hey, we love our women too, though. You know what I'm saying? If a hit dog gonna holler every time when we bring out this particular subject, you know, it's a very controversial subject, but this is just the proof of the pudding, man. All right, we have to recorrect, all right, what has already been misconstrued through the like this brother went into through Esau Edom, man, through the devil. Go ahead.
Yeah, but that's why it's another known fact that men, all right, or daughters, sons or daughters that's raised by their father, it's like a 3 out of 4 possibility that they'll have a more successful rate in life versus being raised by their mothers. It's like 10 to 20%. Man.
And that's real.
That's real shit, man. All right, but go ahead, Azari. You got something?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. I know.
This is
But now you got something?
Romans 15,
Oh, man.
verse 4. For whatsoever things was written beforehand was written for our learning, that we through patience, seriously,
Oh, okay.
through patience and comfort of the scripture might have hope. And I brought that out to let everybody know the stuff that we brought out. We brought out because it was written before times for our learning. So y'all be asking, well, how do y'all know who the Gentiles is? We go back to the Old Testament. So we're showing you things to where the Lord said, like number 1 and 18, he goes after the Father. We showed you where there were Israelite foreigners who were born of women of other nations and looked like them, but they still were Israelites. But you got it out.
And that was in the Old Testament, right? Which that happened again in the Apocrypha, man. Which, you know, there's no such thing as an Old New Testament.
That's
right.
right.
It's a volume of the book.
Yeah.
All right. It's a law and the prophets, man. All right. We read in the prophets that happened.
That's right.
You know, and we also went through another thing. It's called Hellenization. You see, and to the point to where we were forced. All right, our fathers. Let's get into that, bro. Give me First Maccabees. What's that? 2. Let me First Maccabees 2. Matter of fact, give me that one with Eleazar. Give me that. That is like the first Maccabees 6. Come on, old pocket.
I got the first Maccabees. Wait,
You got the chapter 141.
I think that's it.
I got that one for Antiochus.
Yeah.
This is real quick. First Maccabees chapter 1 and 41, going into Hellenization. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and every one should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Shabbat.
Right, in which Antiochus Epiphanes, all right, he was the Edomite, man, all right, of the Greek rulership, okay? After, it tells you, read up in the chapter, after Alexander died, all right, the wickedness, get it.
I got it right here.
Yeah.
Wickedness was multiplied in the earth, roughly paraphrasing.
First Maccabees 1 and 1. It says, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian. Right, and when you go, that's a whole breakdown in itself. Right, because Alexander, he was an Edomite, man. You know, it says who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece. Let me see. I'm gonna jump to 7. I just had to bring that out. This verse 7.
Hold on.
You want to get all of that?
Get 4.
Kind. This verse 4, it says, and he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over the countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him.
Right. So Alexander, right, what you go into Daniel the 7th and the 8th chapter, it speaks about, the he-goat. Okay?
That's right.
The one who just trampled down these other nations because he conquered the known world back in that time.
That's
all
right,
right, before the coming of the Roman Empire. All right. He was the one that was putting shit down. It took him nothing but 12 years to conquer all of these nations, man. And he made them tributaries. He made them servants, you see? So there was another one, another wicked root who came out of this, man. That was it.
Jump to 7.
Okay.
It says, verse 7, it says, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bear rule over everyone. Huh?
Yeah, that's it. Go all the way down to 15. We're gonna get all of them.
Right. Yeah, get all of them.
Yeah, we're gonna get that. Because then we're gonna jump back to that 40.
I got that word tributary.
Okay. It says, and his servants bear rule, everyone in his place, and after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth.
Right, which just goes into his 4 generals, all right, in which there are 4 different areas that they ruled, okay, after his death. Ptolemy,
Lysimachus, Cassander,
Seleucus, Cassander, man, all right, and they all reigned in their respective provinces. Egypt, Greece, Turkey, Asia Minor, but keep going.
Verse 10, it says, and there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
Right, so this is where Antiochus Epiphanes comes into play, because he was the one who actually put actual hell on Jake, man. All right, because under the Persians, it was a bit of grace. That was Darius that allowed us to, rebuild the
King Cyrus
that
Cyrus
allowed us, rebuild the temple, But under this guy, he was just like, nah, fuck all that. He was like, man, we gonna put hell on these Jakes, all right? And if they don't do what I say, it's off with their head, man. We're gonna get that, because that 10 was the point, but we can go to 15 if you want.
Yeah, we might as well get that too, because it's heavy too. Verse 11, it says, in those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we it says, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward therein, so like herein, that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen. So you had basically these Israelites who was turning people over, right, into Greeks. You see, through persuasion, they were persuading them. They're like, hey, they coming against us so hard that we might as well just do what they say, instead of dying on your sword like a man. It says, verse 14, it says, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the custom of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. Right, in that place of exercise, that's the gym. Right, which that word gym goes in the gymnos. Right, and they basically just was working out completely nude, man. Right, yeah, bucket naked, man. And participating, in different orgies and things of that nature, which will trickle down to what you see today. That's why when Jake go to these different gyms and workout places, Planet Fitness, places like that, everybody is wearing skin tight shit. People's shirts are off. You see, Shawty got the moose knuckle out. Like you could just see everything, man. Because that was the origin of it, and it said it done it after heathen customs. When you go into the ancient Greek, a lot of they was into open freakism. There were open bathhouses where women and men would shower and take baths together, man. Different things of that nature. So, and they done this in Jerusalem. They brought that weird ass shit to Jerusalem. But you got it, Quashab. I just wanted to bring that up.
You want me? Can I get that word real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, get the word and
jump to the border. This was that tributary back in the earlier, I forget exactly what verse, but earlier in that first Maccabees chapter 1, it says tributary in the noun, it says a person, country, or etc. owing obedience or paying tribute or a tax to a sovereign or another people in acknowledgement of submission. So being in the acknowledgement of submission. So in other words of that Hellenization, that word Hellenization is it's a get down or lay down. So if you're not getting down with their customs, so on and so forth, they're going off with your head. All right, which many of our people fought, to not allow that to happen, but a lot of our people got down with the program, which pissed the Lord off even more.
And what's that word Hellenization goes, into a couple of different words, which goes back into Hellene, which means Greek.
Right.
All right. So they basically Greekanized us, man.
Right.
Right. Which is why you have Jake all into the Greek mythology, doing the Q-dog shit, all that shit that goes back to the Greco-Roman Empire, man.
Hey, that literally was what it was, though. The Hellenization was the forcing of Greek customs on our people.
Yeah. You got it, Bayan.
Back to that first Maccabees chapter 1 and 41, it says, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws.
Yes. So that's what the forcing part comes in. All right. He said he wrote a letter, but it wasn't asking, hey, you guys, do you think we should all just come together and just, do the same high holy days? And no, man. He said, nah, look, this is what I'm about to do, and y'all gonna do it. All right. And if y'all don't do it, it's gonna be consequences and repercussions, man. Go ahead.
Wasn't it, I believe further down, it might have been before with was it Matthias? They got pissed off at the Jake going up there to listen to him, and ended up slaying him down before he got up to the altar.
On sight.
Yeah. Jake wasn't playing. But first Maccabees 1 and 42 again, it says, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols and profane the Shabbat. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem, and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land.
Where you at?
44. 1 and 44.
Jump to just keep going.
It says, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Shabbats and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people.
Right. So this is the forcing. All right. Like they literally said, look, don't keep no Sabbaths. Right. On a high holy day, profane the temple is just to mean it means to be outside the temple. Yeah. All right. This is where the abomination of desolation comes in. You know, bringing in the abominations into the temple. Yeah. You know, what was it? Pigs. Pig. You know. And sacrificing unto idols, man, you know.
And it even goes further if you read down, you know, more through the Maccabees, that our people was hiding in caves trying to hold the Shabbat.
You be holding that.
Oh, kind.
We holding that.
You know, let the scripture speak on that. But that's how heavy and deep this thing got. Of, you know, if you at the point that you got to hide during the Shabbat, that means that you're fearing that somebody's going to take your life. You know, if you get caught. You know, so that's how you know how serious this was.
Yeah.
But continuing on, you want me to continue?
Keep going.
It says,
verse. About to say about that swine flesh.
47. It says, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanliness and profanation, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances.
Read 50.
And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said, should die.
Right, and this was the consequence. Right, so if you didn't do these things, like I said, it wasn't a question. You know, if you didn't do them, you get put to death, man. Right, he didn't want no uncircumcised children. It wasn't no keeping of the high holy days. All right, we about to profane the temple. All right, and that's why Esau don't have no repentance, man. You know, this man, that's a fucking devil, man. You know, that's a devil, man. But Reese dropped down to 60, and we're gonna get that second Maccabees. Drop down to 60 real quick.
Verse 60. Yeah, this is what I was telling you with the hanging the infants. First Maccabees chapter 1 and 60. It says, at which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised.
Right, so you still had Jakes with integrity, all right, that still wanted to keep the law, right, that still was trying to uphold righteousness, man, all right? But what are you supposed to do when the king that's reigning over you in fierceness, he don't want no righteousness up here. He just wants straight abominations and wickedness, you know? And he's forcing you not to be righteous, you see? But this is happening over generations and generations unto us, man. You see, it didn't stop with Antiochus. You see, it continued on, all right? All the way up into the Roman Empire, man. You know? We keep going, brother.
It said earlier that the evils multiplied.
Yeah.
So multiplied around the earth. But you know how freaky this is. This man rod checking.
Yeah, bro.
He's checking rods, bro. For circumcision.
Bro, rod checking is crazy.
It's crazy. Come on, man.
Did you circumcise the baby born after he waited till after the 8 days to see? All right, I'm going to check the rod. That's wicked, bro. That's wicked, bro.
Verse 61.
It says, this is exactly why we go beat the piss out y'all in the kingdom.
That's exactly right.
Man, we go beat y'all, man. Come on now, bro. That right there, bro. We go, man. And y'all brothers feel the same way, man. We gonna beat y'all.
Yeah, Jake said they gonna be saved though, bro.
Yeah, we gonna beat y'all last.
But that's why I'm bringing all of this history out, because Jake don't you don't really understand what the fuck you saying, man. Right. You know, you saying like people like this could be saved, really?
Come on. Hey, but the time changed, man.
Yeah.
Time changed.
That's the that bitch ass
give and forget.
Yeah, forgive and forget. That kumbaya spirit. Everybody get along.
That's bullshit,
you know?
man.
No, that's not gonna be it, man.
And the Most High required past, man.
Exactly.
Because we bringing out the past.
Come on, man. But First Maccabees chapter 1 and 61, it says, and they hanged the infants about their necks and rifled their houses and slew them that had circumcised them. Howbeit.
So wait, real quick, because that's just for circumcising. You hanging infants, man? Come on, man. You see? But this is the atrocities that these people have done against our people, man. All right, and there's gonna be a judgment written for that shit, man. You know, these things has thou done, and the Lord kept silence about that shit, man. Go ahead, bro.
This is what we know. This is written down, and then we got other things that we hear from word to mouth, or probably could see pictures, you know, of things that they could show us. But it's even worse than that. What the hell it was done to our people?
Yeah, we don't even know about it, bro.
Come.
Think about what they did to us over here.
Yeah.
The same shit, even worse.
Yeah, probably 20 times worse. You know, that was it.
No, they got more.
Okay.
I can read it all the way out.
Just that's cool because brothers got a lot of precepts. We about to start winding down.
For sure.
Well, you had read 61?
Yeah.
That's cool. Give me this second Maccabees.
Come.
That's cool. So like that's cool.
This is the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 6, verse 6. It says, neither was it lawful for a man to keep the Sabbath days or ancient feasts.
Right. So this is another reiteration on what was going on. All right, go ahead.
It says, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
So it got to the point to where you couldn't even call yourself a damn Israelite no more, man. All right. It wasn't lawful to say, "Oh, I'm a Jew. I'm of the tribe of Judah. I'm a tribe of Levi. I'm a tribe of Benjamin." That wasn't even lawful. But they could be saved though, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse
That's
7,
ridiculous, bro.
it says, and in the day of the king's birth, every month they were brought by bitter constraints to eat of the sacrifices. And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in possession to Bacchus, carrying ivy.
Keep going.
Moreover,
We're gonna read down to 11.
moreover, there went out a decree.
See, it's another decree, right? Another letter. All right. This devil didn't stop, man. You see? Go ahead, bro.
Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by suggestion of Ptolemy.
Right, and which this, I think this was Ptolemy the second. Don't quote me on it. I think this was Ptolemy the second. All right, which his father was one of the generals under Alexander. You see, this is how wickedness was multiplied in the earth. You know, you want to say something?
Yeah, and look how they play on you today. They got you. Throw me something, mister.
Yeah, yeah, the
You know,
parade. Yeah.
Got but they doing this in your face.
In your face. Yeah.
You know, Jake, man, you a cross lion like the scriptures say, man. This shit should boil your blood. Go ahead, Doc.
Yep. Oh, you say
No,
something?
I just wanted to say real quickly, this apocrypha is pivotal, for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Without it, you know what I'm saying. When you jump basically from Malachi to Matthew, you missing hundreds of years of history. So you have
a 400-year period of silence, man.
right.
Nothing happened from Malachi to Matthew.
Yeah, we ain't gonna tell you where apocrypha means hidden.
Hit it out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Basically, like the brother was saying, it means basically sent away hidden. So you have no idea why our people are being called Gentiles, why they're being called Greeks, why they're being called Grecians, right? You know what I'm saying? And being called the names of the other nations. When you don't read this book, man.
But that should be something that we all should be looking for. Like, why wouldn't you want to learn what happened to you in the past and all these things like that? Like, a lot of our people don't even care to learn about our heritage.
Yeah.
For truth's sake and history's sake, I can tell you for sure, I myself and probably multiple brothers, didn't really read the Bible, didn't really know nothing about the Bible. But I damn sure knew about Alexander the Great before I knew about anything in the Bible. But to see that they say that Alexander the Great was real and he played this part in history, and then now you see what part of history that he has with us being our people, that should boost your faith even more to show you that, man, this shit is real. This shit happened.
That's why brother said to understand the mysteries, you have to know the history, man. Go ahead.
And it's crazy how all that shit link up together. Like, it's just so bizarre. It's not even bizarre, but it's just mind-boggling how you could really go to the scriptures and line everything up. It really got everything written down in one book.
Yeah, past, future, and present, man. Right. That's why every week, year in, year out, This is always the #1 selling book, you know, in the world.
Only the elect can obtain it, man.
Only elect to obtain it. That's
I was
right.
about to say, that's why Romans 11 tell you that. Had not Israel obtained that which he's seeking for? What do our people seek for? A place in the world, right? Somewhere where we can call it, you know, home, which they don't even understand that this is our home, relying in these scriptures. But it says, but the elect have obtained it.
Yeah, and the rest was blind.
And the rest was blind.
Yeah,
Right,
finish this out.
You want to finish that out?
2 Maccabees 6 and 8, it says, moreover, there will not a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews.
You see? Go ahead.
That they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifice. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery.
Right, and just to make a quick clarification, this is talking about the heathen. All right, these Gentiles are talking about the heathen, man. All right, it's not talking about Israelite foreigners who is making them do this. No, it's talking about the Grecians. All right, who were Edomites. Go ahead.
For there were 2 women brought who had circumcised their children, who when they had openly let round about the city, the babes hanging at their breasts, they cast them down headlong from the well. And others that had run together into the cave nearby to keep the Shabbat day secretly, being discovered to Philip, were all burnt together, because they made a conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day.
Right. So you have people just trying to keep the Shabbat. We just want to keep the Shabbat. And what happened to them? They were burnt to a fucking crisp, man. This is the atrocities committed by the so-called white man. All right. This is the hell that he put on our people. You see?
What? I said, who you trying to save?
Yeah, who you trying to save, man? You know? But this is what happens when you get presented with a bag, all right? Just to continue in this society. Go ahead with your precept. Get y'all 2 brothers.
It's Isaiah 10 and 1.
With that.
It says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that right grievousness which they have prescribed. And these precepts that the brothers been bringing out, those is unrighteous decrees, man.
Yeah.
Right? And it says, woe unto them. Right? So death and destruction. You gonna tell me, Esau got repentance, man? Don't make no sense.
Go ahead, Kalai. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get this out of the book of Esther, because you have a certain feast day, basically called Purim, which means the Feast of Lots, and it's gonna go into specifically, you know, what happened, you know, and what's the judgment. All right, this is the rest of Esther, or the rest of the book of Esther, and I'm gonna start at verse 8. It says, and the nations were those that were assembled to destroy the name of the Jews, right? So just like the brothers have been going into, they've always wanted to what? Destroy the Israelites. That's right? And it says, and my nation is this Israel, who cried to God and were saved. For the Lord hath saved his people, and the Lord hath delivered us from all those evils. And God hath wrought signs and great wonders, which have not been done among the Gentiles. And this goes into the other nations. So you're getting a clear separation. You're getting the Israelites, right? And you're getting the Gentiles, which are the other nations. And it says, therefore hath he made 2 lots, one for the people of God, the Israelites, and another for all the Gentiles. Okay, so that goes into what, man? You know, the Lord has a separation between the Israelites and the Gentiles in the final days. And the next verse is going to say it. It says, and these 2 lots came at 1 hour, at the hour and time and day of judgment before God among all the nations. So the Lord is going to come to save who? His people, which are the Israelites, who he's going to have mercy on, and all that Gentiles that's left in Babylon the Great, they're going to be completely destroyed.
Which are the actual heathen, man.
One more verse. It says, so God remembered his people, the Israelites, and justified his inheritance. So the answer is no. If you're a Gentile here in Babylon the Great, you're not going to get salvation, right? You're not going to be saved from trouble. Okay.
What chapter you read?
This is chapter 10. So
Oh.
or it might be 9. It says a part of 10.
Yeah, kind of. I will see. You got chapter 4, verse 9 on there.
Yeah, I think you talking about the regular Esther.
Yeah.
That's in the Bible.
Oh no, it's in the apocryphal book. It's in the apocryphal. But don't worry about
The one
that.
on the phone different from that.
Yeah.
From that
Yeah. I said, don't worry about it though. Yeah.
Just get it if you got it.
Kind. It's Esther in the apocrypha, chapter 4, verse 9, saying, "O Lord, Lord, the King Almighty, for the whole world is in thy power. And if thou hast appointed to save Israel, there is no man that can gainsay this." That's plain. Yeah, only Israel gonna be saved, man. No Gentiles, no heathen, no nothing, man. Go ahead.
One more thing I want to mention. I mentioned the Purim, right, which is going to be kept in the kingdom, man.
Yeah.
Right. So if the lots now is for them to be separated and the Lord to save Israel and to basically destroy the Gentiles, and we're going to keep the law, statutes, and commandments in the kingdom, how can they be saved? It's the same thing all over again.
Hey man, in the kingdom, the only thing that's gonna be there for you to do is fucking work, man. That's it. You know, that's the only thing that's gonna be. That's one thing we know for sure. It's gonna be work for you, man. For continual employment. All right. Go ahead, Kalaya.
See this the book of St. Matthew, chapter 1 and 21. It says, and she brought forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Yahushua,
yes,
for he shall save his people from their sins. And his is a possessive pronoun, man. You see, showing that there's ownership to what he's saying, man. His people, who are his people? You so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. The Israelites. Hey, this that word Edom. You know, I wanted to grab this because they always want to say Edom. Yes, bro. So, but look where they put it. That's the last line on the name, on the word Edom. All right, so again, this is the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. When you go into that word Edom, the very last paragraph says, Edom figures prominently in the prophetic scriptures as the scene of great future judgments. You see?
Hold on, real quick. Give me Isaiah 63, man.
Yeah, it tell you where it's at. It's starting 1.
Yep. Just get that real quick. Hey man, you just gonna go another hour, brothers. Fuck it.
That's
Go ahead,
Come on, bro.
It says, prominently in the prophetic scriptures as the scene of great future prophecies, future judgments. See notably Isaiah 43 and 5 and 6, Isaiah 63 and 1.
Hold it right there. Read it.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 63, verse 1. Who is this that cometh from Edom?
See?
With dyed garments from Basra.
Right, it was Basra. All right. It's one of the ancient chief cities of Edom. Yup. Okay. So it's telling you who is this that coming from Edom with dyed garments from Basra. Showing you who's the Lord, the first and chief person that the Lord is coming back to judge, man. All right, of that future judgment. You have more than that?
Yeah. It says, she is the only neighbor of the Israelites who was not given any promise of mercy from Yahweh.
That's it. Get that one in Hebrews.
And I want to say this too, just to back you up. You know, because ultimately, you know, these other nations, after 1,000 years of servitude, they're gonna go and do their own thing. Of course, they're gonna bring tribute unto us, right, in the kingdom of heaven. Okay, but Esau, Edom, after 1,000 years, they're gonna what? You know, pretty much get destroyed, man, obliterated, incinerated. Yeah. You know, but you got it, huh?
Yeah. Brother got that. Hebrews
12 and
I got it.
he got it right here.
Bring it out.
Now, this is the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 17.
Baba Kashab.
For ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance.
Right. So no matter how much crying, all right, no matter how much debating, all right, no matter how much these fake prophets, all right, want to speak on your behalf, you ain't got no fucking repentance, man. All right. And the only thing that's left for you to be done is judge, man. Okay. And that's what you're trying to do. All right. As the vagabond that you are, you're trying to run and escape your goddamn judgment, man. All right. But according to the true men of the Lord, you can't escape that judgment, man.
That's right.
You see?
Straight into it.
You're going straight into it. Go ahead, brother.
Con. Though he sought it carefully with tears.
Yeah. You cried for it. You wanted it back, right? But it ain't happened, man. Go ahead. That was it, huh?
Yeah,
I think it got one
One more verse.
I think
Oh, it's 16.
that was it. That was the
yeah,
point.
that was.
Give me that one. Give me that one in that.
MSG.
Yes.
I got
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. God.
This is Hebrews 12 in MSG. It says, watch out for the Esau syndrome. Trading away God's lifelong gift in order to satisfy a short-term appetite.
Yeah.
You well
But see,
know.
real quick. But see, that's the mindset of Edom. Like we went into with Cain, went into with Esau. That's his mindset. It's everything is a microwave mindset, man.
Instinct
You
gratification.
know, instant gratification. He don't want delayed gratification. He's not worried about. He's not set in stone a suffering for a time. All right, to be. He wasn't thinking like that back then. You see, but then he realized what he messed up. He's like, oh, I'm gonna try to get it back, which is his whole MO with this NW0. Okay, and getting everybody with an implantable, man. You see, so he can get his birthright back. Go ahead.
It says, you will know how Esau later regretted that impulsive act and wanted God's blessing, but by then it was too late.
Yeah.
Tears or no tears.
Tears or no tears,
Tears
man.
or no tears.
It's too late in the real way. Go ahead, Art.
This is Malachi 1,
Verse 4.
yeah, verse. I'm gonna start at 3. And it says, and it says, and I hated Esau and his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Verse 4, it says, whereas Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus said Yahweh hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahweh have indignation for forever.
Yeah, man. You don't have no repentance, and the Lord is always gonna have a perpetual hatred just for you. We do too, man. All right. It's like you hated you had a perpetual hatred against us. Well, we don't like you either, nigga. You know.
Fuck, nigga.
You say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, you know, I had a precept too, but it said that there was the, you know, the border, you know, basically it said that they're a border of wickedness. You know what I'm saying? Which, you know, when you think about it,
the name from
you know, God, you know what I'm saying? When you think about it, the border is the beginning and the ending of something, right? You know what I'm saying? And that's what the Lord has slated for him. Okay, and this is let me get this real quick. This is Job 27 and verse 13. It says, "This is the portion of a wicked man with God, and a heritage of oppressors," which we've been going into what Esau, Edom. Okay, you know, oppressing the nation of Israel. It says, "Which they shall receive of the Almighty when the time comes." Okay, and it says, verse 14. It says, "If his children be multiplied, it is for the sword."
That's right.
Right? And it said, if his children be multiplied, it's to be saved. It said it's literally for the sword,
Yeah,
right?
because you have the wicked who have to come back and receive their judgment, which is the thermonuclear fire, man. Some of you are coming back just to get put to death by Yahweh Shai, man. That's why I tell you that in Revelation 1 and 7. Even those who pierced him. Hey, man, you going to come back, whoever was guilty of that, and hey, man, the Lord going to put you to death himself, man. Yeah. Go ahead, bro.
And his offspring shall not be satisfied with bread, which goes back into what that first Maccabees, the first chapter, when it says that basically when the people will multiply, evils grew in the earth. So this is the heritage, right, of what's going to happen to the people who oppress the Israelites. Okay, basically utter destruction.
Yeah, I got one.
Yeah.
Con, this this Romans 9:13. I'm gonna read it in the NLT. It says, "In the words of the scriptures, I love Jacob, but I rejected Esau." Right, and I got that word "reject" in the online etymology. It literally says this. It says eject, set aside, right, block from inheritance.
Yeah.
So he was blocked. It was nothing he could do. He couldn't get it.
It was put by.
He was put by, man.
Yep.
Got it.
It's like we brought that out earlier.
Yeah.
Not that Romans, but one in 2 Ezra 3.
Mm-hmm.
When they tell you that the law was put, it wasn't given to him, it was put by him, man. And the Lord told you, watch out, man. Go ahead, bring that out, brother.
You want to start
68, yeah.
This is Luke 1:68. And it says, "Blessed be Yahweh, power of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people,
His people, another possessive pronoun. Go ahead.
and have raised up a horn of salvation for us in the house of servant David, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophet, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us."
Yeah, and that's what salvation is, man. Being saved from the hand of our enemies and all that hate us, all right? And the world don't hate you so-called white people, all right, or you other nations as much as they hate Jake, man. You see? Go ahead.
And to perform the mercy promised to our fathers, and to remember his holy covenant, the oath which he swore to our father Abraham, that he would grant unto us, that we, being delivered out of the hands of our enemies, might serve him without fear.
Yeah, man. And that's what salvation is, all right? And that's only going to be for you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans that's of the elect, all right? The Israel of the Most High, But go ahead. I'm closing on that, bro.
This is the book of John, chapter 4, verse 22. It says, "Ye worship, ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews."
Right. It also speaks about that the time has come where the true worshipers, who worship Yahweh Bashim Yahushai in spirit and in truth.
Yeah.
All right. And that hour has come now, you see, because we know what we worship, man. All right. And we know that salvation is to the elect of the nation of Israel, But that's pretty much it. Brothers had any closing points?
No, that's it.
Yeah, man. So, Lord willing, this camp was edifying. All right, straight to the point. So with that, we're going to give our praises, glory, and infinite honors unto
Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua Ba'Shem Kakodash.
double honors to the apostles and the others of great millstone, and peace, blessings, and salutations to the hopefully elect. Shalom.
Shalom.
Ababa
Ababa Ba.
Ababa
Ababa Ba. Ababa Ba.
Kwam Yasharala.
Kwam Yasharala.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Yeah.